Hi, hello, and welcome to Explainwallah, an exclusive section run by LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun, and I am Arjun R Shankar. Breaking news always hits the headlines, and it keeps changing because new headlines keeps coming and the news gets updated. But when you see the last 30 years or 40 years, probably one news has always stayed, whether it is on television, whether it is on the newspapers, the Israel-Palestine issue. We can always see the news of Gaza, Israel, West Bank, Jerusalem, hundreds of people getting died, the pictures of rocket launchers, the sites of death and destruction occupied in the newspapers. So, what is the basic reason? Why are they fighting with each other? And we often see the important news of Hamas coming into the picture. And what is the two-state solution? And how is the international community looking at the Israel-Palestine issue? What is really happening inside this? And what is the solution for their problems? What is the solution to end the violence? So let's find out all these answers in this Explainwallah. Before we start this important discussion, let's quickly rewind to the end of the First World War because it is always good to have a historical background and everything. So when you rewind, you will understand the League of Nations actually placed a place called Palestine. So Palestine was actually a place which was under the Ottoman rulers. And you can just take a look at the Ottoman rulers. And once after the First World War, the place called Palestine completely got and shifted to the British hands. So it was now a British administered place. So that was when Palestine was again divided into two important regions. One is called the people with Jewish people and who were actually in minority, and the other one, the Arab people who were then in majority. So even the Jewish people regarded Palestine as a very their ancestral land, and even Arabs even believed that that is also their homeland. So both of them had equal claims to the place called Palestine. And after some time, in the 1920s and 40s, again you will see that apart from Jewish people and the Arab people, new player came into the picture, which is the British people, because they were administering it. And in the 1920s and 40s, you will see that more number of Jews came to Palestine because of the Holocaust that was happening during the Second World War. And I think you definitely know about the Holocaust incident, when you see that thousands and hundreds of thousands of Jews were executed and killed. So a lot of people flee the places, European countries, and they came into Palestine. So people were coming, and as and when Jews were coming into Palestine, the fight was actually against the Jews versus the Arabs, and against the Jews versus the Arabs versus the British people. So there was a complete fight happening between these countries, these places, especially in the early 1920s to the late 40s. And in 1947, the United Nations came up with a good formula. As usual, they came up with a good formula where you can see that they came up with an important suggestion of dividing Palestine into two important aspects, the two important states, which is one dominated by the Jewish state and the second which is dominated by the Arab state. And both of them wanted the most important thing called the sacred city of Jerusalem, the old city, the important city for both of them, Jerusalem. And since both of them had claim to that, they said Jerusalem will be administered by the United Nations because Jerusalem will become an international city. So Jewish people were very happy about this, but the Arab people completely rejected this. And that is when the new thing after 1948, the birth of Israel was coming in. And when the birth of Israel came, everything in the Israel-Palestine issue changed in. The British people could not solve this problem. The two states could not be established in the way that was actually planned even by the UN. So British people left. And what happened is the important players, the Jewish, the Arab people, they actually got into war. Revolt and uprising started, and even the Arab forces, countries like Egypt and even Jordan came into the picture. There was a complete all-around war that went in. But what happened is Israel continuously, the Jewish people, they continuously occupied the important areas, and Israel was born, and they occupied and controlled a large area of the Palestine. And that was how Israel was born, and they controlled everything except the areas of the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which was actually taken over by Jordan, and the Gaza, which was taken over by Egypt. So right now, you can just check out the map, because whenever you see the Israel-Palestine issue, it's important to see the map here. So it was actually you can see the one big Palestine divided between Jewish, Arabs, and you can see now the major area is actually taken over by the Israeli people. They've actually formed Israel. And on this side, you can see the the Jerusalem area. The Jerusalem area, which you can see, is the West Bank. The West Bank, you can see this, and on the eastern side, you can see Eastern Jerusalem. So this area that you can see was taken by Jordan, and the Gaza was completely occupied by Egypt. So what happened? Jewish people became successful. So again, what happened is hundreds and thousands of Palestinians, the Arabs, had to flee from these regions. The people who were there, the Israeli people, the Jewish people, completely made them flee from their lands, and they completely got out from all these regions. And this is what is called as Al-Nakba. That is what the Arab people call it, as the Al-Nakba, or the Great Catastrophe. So this is how they took control of this whole region. In the meantime, let me also tell you what you mean by a concept of Haganah. Haganah, which means the defense. It was actually founded in the 1920s. It's actually an organization, a group of militia whose ultimate aim was to protect the Jewish people from the Arab people, and they wanted to protect the issue. The issue simply means a body of Jewish residents. They actually contributed to a big time help regarding the defense against the Arabs, because a lot of it's a militia movement, so obviously they really helped the Jewish people to survive against the Arabs. And finally, it was disbanded in 1948 when Israel was created. All of this got merged, and definitely when you study the Israel-Palestine issue of the history, the important role of Haganah cannot be missed out. Even after the wars, you can see that the Arabs, or the Palestinian people, now called as the Palestinian people, were living in all the areas of West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the small strips of Gaza. But Israel could not wait, and after some time in 1967, after late 1960s, the 6 Days War is very popular in the history, and that is when Israel completely captured and got what it really wanted. Israel occupied East Jerusalem, West Bank, the Syrian Golan Heights, the Sinai Peninsula of the Egyptian, and the Gaza. They occupied the complete regions it really wanted. And what happened is, again, more than 500,000 Palestinian Arab people had to completely flee from all these regions outside into other places. So again, a lot of people became refugees. The important year for Palestine Liberation Organization is 1964, when it came into existence. And then the most pivotal year for them was 1969, when the great leader Yasser Arafat was made as the chairman of the PLO. And in 1973-74, what happened is PLO got the official legitimate recognition of the people of Palestine. So now they are the official and legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, and they represented a lot of places. And finally, in 1987, again, there was nobody. Israel was getting more powerful, and Palestinians were not getting a good support. And that is a time when the PLO mustered the people in 1987. The great revolt again happened, and the Palestinian people revolted against the Israeli people. And that is what is called as the first Intifada, or the uprising. And again, intense diplomacy continued in the years to come. So 1987, 88, and again, diplomatic relations kept on going, and nothing really came out of that. And that was again in America that you can say that the most popular one, called the Oslo Accords, were actually signed. And you can see this important picture. This picture was very popular during those days. The picture of American President Bill Clinton, Isaac Rabin of Israel, and Yasser Arafat in the single frame. And even after the first Oslo Accords, the second Oslo Accord again happened in 95 in Egypt. And altogether, you can see that the problem of Israel and Palestine, even the countries of the West, including America, UN, everybody was trying to bring in a solution for all this. But after Oslo Accords, again, what happened is, again, continuous fights started to begin. And that was a time when slowly the Palestine Liberation Organization's major hold was slowly it slowly shifted to what was called as Hamas. And now you can see that now Palestinian forces and everything is actually controlled by Hamas. So let's find out what is Hamas. Hamas is actually an Arabic acronym of Islamic Resistance Movement. It was actually created in the 1980s or late 1980s, in the 1988-89 period, when the first Intifada, the uprising, was happening. And slowly it grew, and later on, after, as I just told, it continuously represented and started controlling the areas of the Palestinian areas of Gaza and every other place. And you can see this slow transition, and the Hamas group of people, they actually operate both as a political party and as a militant group. So the political party participates in the local elections, and they do a lot of reconstruction activities, building of schools, and the militant group definitely prepares Palestinian people for the fight with Israel. And in its charter, in the charter of Hamas, the most important agenda or the commitment that they have created is destruction of Israel. That is the major thing that they already want inside that. Hamas, on the other side, is due to its militant armed rebellions and other things, it is always seen as a terrorist organization by United States of America, European Union, and many other countries. So at one time, please do remember about the political aspect of Palestine and the militant aspect of Hamas. What is going to be the future of Israel-Palestine issue if this is the scale of violence and destruction? Because there is no solution actually coming into place. And when you look at these places very clearly, especially the areas of Gaza, West Bank and East Jerusalem, you will see that the Palestinian people say that it is the Israeli people who are continuously creating problems. They are creating problems in the region. And when you ask the Israeli people, they say it is the Palestine or the Hamas who are actually creating violence, bombing, throwing rockets, launching into the Israeli city. So it is actually a blame game. Israel, Palestine, Palestine, Israel. But the people who are living in all these areas are the big time sufferers. They are actually suffering all the wrath of this violence. And you can even see that Israel has continuously regulated the region of Gaza, because they made sure that they regulate Gaza, because they want to, along with Egypt, they have cut off that Gaza region to make sure that Palestinian people, the Hamas people, do not get the support of military aids. They do not get the weapons. So that area is always seen as an important thing. And as a regard, the big thing that Israeli people did, which was actually an offense to the international community, was to create a big wall, a 700-kilometer big wall in the West Bank region, annexing the areas of Palestine and almost going inside the occupied areas of West Bank. So that is the wall that they have created inside the West Bank. And the biggest problem is it has created a big time problem for the Palestinians, because this wall has gone inside. This wall has gone inside and has taken over many of the productive agriculture lands of the Palestinian people, and it has cut off the people from education, social services, etc., and even access to farmland. So this wall has again been a big time debate. But the real problems in the next coming few days, coming few years, we need to find a solution for this is one important major issue. What is going to be the status of the Palestinian refugees? And you see that United Nations, there is a special organization for this, for the Palestinian refugees. So what is going to be the status of Palestinian refugees? What are we going to do regarding that? And also, what is going to be the status of Jewish settlements and communities who are living in the Palestinian areas? Because Israeli people pushed a lot of Jewish people into the Palestinian territories. So what is going to be their status? And what is going to be the status of Jerusalem? Who is going to take it? Or are we going to create it as an international city? Who is going to take the status of Jerusalem? And lastly, are we going to give Palestine a separate state as per the two-state? So these unless we don't solve these important issues, it's very difficult to come to an answer. In the last 25 years, intense negotiation and diplomacy discussions have been going on. And a lot of countries around the world really believe that the two-state solution, separate states for both of them, should definitely come into place. And if not, it's going to create a big time challenge of violence and destruction in the Middle East. So let's really hope that the last 30 years has not seen that, but now we are living in an age of diplomacy, and I think a lot of things might really happen. So really, let's really hope that the issue of Israel and Palestine really gets solved.